Ambassador Jonathan Blake walked through the tall, crystal halls of the Zephyrian Imperial Palace. His old face showed no fear as he moved toward the throne room where Emperor Vaxon waited. Behind him walked Lieutenant Grace Murphy, a young woman, who had served as his assistant for 3 years. She carried herself like a soldier, but dressed like a diplomat. The palace walls sparkled with strange lights that moved like living things. Zephyrian guards stood at attention, their 4 arms crossed over their chest plates. Each guard was twice the size of a human, and their skin looked like metal that had been polished until it gleamed. Their 4 eyes never blinked as they watched. The human visitors passed by. Blake had been Earth's top diplomat for 30 years. He had seen many alien worlds and met creatures that would give nightmares to most humans. But today felt different. The message that brought him here spoke of important changes to the peace treaty that had kept humans safe for decades. Blake knew that important changes usually meant bad news. The throne room doors opened without sound. Emperor Vaxon sat on a seat made from what looked like living crystal that pulsed with blue light. The Emperor was the largest Zephyrian Blake had ever seen. His 4 arms were covered in golden bands that marked his royal status. His 4 eyes studied the humans, like a cat watching mice. "Ambassador Blake." The Emperor's voice came from a device around his neck that translated his words into human speech. "You have served your species well for many years. Today, that service ends." Grace tensed beside Blake, but he raised his hand, slightly to keep her calm. Blake had learned long ago that aliens often spoke in dramatic ways. He waited to hear what the Emperor really wanted to say. "Your Majesty," Blake replied with a bow of his head, "Earth has always honored our agreements with the Zephyrian Empire. We hope to continue our peaceful relationship for many more years." The Emperor's mandibles clicked together in what Blake knew was laughter among the Zephyrian people. Around the throne room, other Zephyrian nobles made the same sound. The noise filled the air like insects chirping. "Peaceful relationship," Emperor Vaxon repeated. "Yes, it has been peaceful because we allowed it to be peaceful. But humans have grown. Too bold. Your colonies spread like a disease across the stars. Your ships carry trade to worlds that should only serve the Empire." Blake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The human colonies in the Outer Rim were home to millions of people. Farmers, miners, scientists, and their families had built new lives. On distant worlds, they raised children who had never seen Earth but called themselves human with pride. "The peace treaty allows human expansion into unclaimed systems," Blake said carefully. "We have followed all the rules set by the Galactic Council." "The Galactic Council." The Emperor stood from his throne, and his full height made the humans look like children. "The Council serves at the pleasure of the Empire. We decide what rules matter." Blake heard Grace take a sharp breath. She was young and still believed that rules meant something to everyone. Blake had learned that rules only mattered to those with the power to enforce them. Today, he was seeing what happened when that power changed hands. "The peace treaty is ended," Emperor Vaxon announced. His voice carried to every corner of the throne room. "Human colonies in the Outer Rim will become property of the Empire. Their people will serve Zephyrian masters. Their worlds will feed Zephyrian cities." The Emperor raised one of his 4 arms, and guards began moving toward the human delegation. Blake counted 12 Zephyrian soldiers, each one armed with weapons that could cut through human body armor like paper. Grace's hand moved toward her sidearm, but Blake caught her eye and shook his head. "Your Majesty," Blake said as the guards surrounded them, "I must protest this action. Earth will not stand by while human colonies are attacked. Earth will do nothing," the Emperor replied. "Your entire fleet consists of slow ships powered by chemical burns. Your weapons fire metal bullets like primitive savages. A single Zephyrian dreadnought could destroy every human ship in space." Blake had heard these words before from other alien leaders. They always spoke about human technology like it was made by children playing with fire. They saw human ships and called them crude. They saw human weapons and called them simple. They looked at humans and saw a species that had barely learned to leave their home world. "You speak truth about human technology," Blake said, in a voice that carried across the throne room. "Our ships are slower than yours. Our weapons are simpler than yours. Our colonies are smaller than yours." The Emperor nodded his great head as if Blake was finally understanding his place in the galaxy. "But there is something you do not understand about humans," Blake continued. His voice grew stronger with each word. "Something that every species in this galaxy has failed to learn until it was too late." "And what is that, Ambassador? SciFi?" Emperor asked with amusement in his translated voice. Blake looked directly into all four of the Emperor's eyes. Around the throne room, Zephyrian nobles leaned forward to hear his answer. Even the guard seemed curious about what the human diplomat would say. "We remember everything," Blake said simply. "Every slight, every broken promise, every act of betrayal, and we never forget who our enemies are." The Emperor's laughter filled the room again, but this time it sounded forced. Blake continued speaking as alarms began to sound throughout the palace. The alarms meant that Zephyrian fleets were beginning their attacks on human colonies across the Outer Rim. "Your Majesty, you have just made the greatest mistake in your empire's history. You see humans as primitive because our ships are slow. You see us as weak because our weapons are simple. You think we will surrender because your fleet is larger than ours." Blake smiled, and the expression made several Zephyrian nobles step back from their seats. "But you never asked the most important question," Blake said as the alarms grew louder. "If humans are so primitive, how did we learn to build ships that can cross the stars? If we are so weak, how did we establish colonies on worlds that killed the first aliens who tried to settle them? If we are so helpless, why did we spend 30 years building a peace treaty that gave us everything we needed to survive in a galaxy full of predators?" The Emperor's four eyes narrowed as he began to understand that something was wrong with his perfect plan. Blake's smile grew wider as he delivered his final words to the Zephyrian court. "Your Majesty, you are about to learn what happens when you break faith with a species that has spent 30 years preparing for this exact moment. The war you are starting will be remembered for 1,000 years, but it will not be remembered as the day the Zephyrian Empire conquered humanity. It will be remembered as the day humanity taught the galaxy why we are the most dangerous species to ever leave our home world." The sound of explosions began to echo from somewhere deep within the palace as the first reports of unexpected resistance reached the throne room. Captain Lisa Stone stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance as warning lights flashed red across every display screen. Her patrol fleet had been watching the borders near Kepler Colony when the emergency message arrived from Earth Command. The transmission was short, but carried words that changed everything. "All human forces, this is Ambassador Blake. The Zephyrian Empire has broken the peace treaty. Human colonies are under attack. Authorization code 77 Alpha. Condition. Red is now active. All restrictions on military operations are lifted. Show them what we really are." Lisa had hoped she would never hear those words. Every human ship captain knew about Condition Red, but most believed it would never be used. For 30 years, humanity had played the role of peaceful traders and simple colonists. They sold raw materials to alien worlds and bought technology. They claimed they could barely understand. The galaxy saw humans as harmless newcomers who were grateful just to have a place among the stars. "Captain, incoming transmission from New Dakota Colony," reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Carter. "Commander Ryan Bell is requesting immediate support." Lisa knew Ryan Bell from the military academy on Earth. He had been one of the best tactical minds in his class, but chose to retire from active service to become a colony administrator. At least that was what his official records said. Like many human colonies, New Dakota had secrets that even the Galactic Council did not know. "Put him through!" Lisa ordered. Ryan's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Lisa could see what looked like a normal colony command center with screens showing crop yields and weather patterns, but she noticed details that civilians would miss. The walls were thicker than they needed to be for a simple farming station. The displays could be quickly changed to show tactical information instead of agricultural data. "Lisa, the Zephyrians are coming hard and fast," Ryan said. 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen fighters. They expect to find scared farmers hiding in their homes. "What are you showing them instead?" Lisa asked. Ryan smiled, and Lisa saw the same look she had seen during their war games at the academy. It was the smile of a predator who had been pretending to be prey for too long. "We are showing them what happens when you attack farmers who used to be Marines," Ryan replied. The transmission ended, and Lisa turned to her tactical officer. "Commander Walsh, signal the fleet. Set course for New Dakota at maximum speed. And send a message to all ships. Tell them it is time to stop pretending." Danny Walsh had served under Lisa for 5 years. He was one of the few officers who knew the truth about human military capabilities. The ships that patrolled human space looked like simple cargo vessels with basic weapons. Their hulls were painted with mining company logos, and their transponders identified them as civilian craft. "Captain, all ships report ready," Danny said. "The Zephyrians are about to learn that human cargo ships carry more than trade goods." Lisa nodded and activated the fleet command frequency. "All ships, this is Stone Actual. Execute Protocol 7. I repeat, execute Protocol 7. Across the small human fleet, external hull plates began to shift and slide away to reveal weapons that had been hidden for years. Gun ports opened to show missile tubes and energy cannons. Sensor arrays extended from concealed compartments. The simple cargo ships transformed into warships that carried firepower equal to anything in the Zephyrian fleet. At New Dakota Colony, Ryan Bell watched through his tactical displays as enemy ships approached. The Zephyrian commander had sent a surrender demand that was ignored. Now the alien vessels moved toward the planet's surface, expecting to find defenseless settlements. "All stations, this is Colony Actual," Ryan transmitted to his hidden defense network. "Time to show these bastards what human farmers can do." Dr. Helen Carter was supposed to be the colony's agricultural scientist. Her official job was improving crop yields and developing new farming techniques. Her real job was much more interesting. For 10 years, she had been using her cover as a plant researcher to study gravitational manipulation technology traded from the Corvin species. Helen sat in what looked like a greenhouse control room, surrounded by displays showing soil conditions and plant growth rates. She pressed a series of buttons that changed those displays to show targeting information for the most advanced defensive system in human space. "Gravitational interdiction field is online," Helen reported. "Zephyrian ships are entering the trap. Zone now." The first Zephyrian cruiser to reach low orbit suddenly found itself caught in an artificial gravity well that pulled it toward the planet's surface. The biomechanical systems that controlled the ship tried to compensate but could not. Break free from forces they had never encountered before. "What sorcery is this?" the Zephyrian captain demanded over open communications. "Human technology cannot produce gravitational effects," Ryan answered from his command center while watching 3 more enemy ships get caught in Helen's trap. "You are right. Human technology cannot do this. Good thing we have been learning alien technology for 30 years. The grain storage silos around New Dakota Colony began to open along hidden seams. Inside each silo were missile batteries that had been disguised as agricultural equipment. Kinetic interceptors launched toward the trapped Zephyrian vessels, while energy weapons fired from concealed positions around the settlement. The Zephyrian fighters tried to strafe the colony, but found themselves flying into overlapping fields of defensive fire. What looked like atmospheric processors were actually point defense systems that tracked incoming threats with computer precision. The alien pilots had trained to fight other starships, not to attack a planet that could fight back like a fortress. Impossible. The Zephyrian fleet commander transmitted as his forces took damage from weapons that should not exist. Humans do not have this level of technology. Engineer Maya Johnson worked in the colony's power station, which was actually the control center for their defensive grid. She had spent years learning how to combine human engineering with alien power systems. The result was a colony that could defend itself against a full military assault. "Sir, we are reading similar defensive actions from every human colony under attack," Maya reported to Ryan. "The Zephyrians are getting the same surprise everywhere they try to land." Ryan smiled as he watched the enemy fleet try to retreat from weapons they could not understand. "Signal all human ships in the sector. Tell them the colonies can hold their own. Time to go hunting." The USS Defiance and her sister ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Dakota system. Lisa Stone watched her tactical display show Zephyrian ships trapped in gravitational fields while ground-based weapons picked them apart. "Captain, the enemy fleet is requesting permission to withdraw," reported Ben Carter. "Denied," Lisa replied. "They came here to conquer a human colony. Now they get to learn what human colonies can do when they stop pretending to be helpless." The Defiance opened fire with weapons that had been hidden behind false hull plating for years. Missiles streaked toward Zephyrian ships while energy beams cut through armor that was designed to stop conventional human weapons. But these were not conventional human weapons anymore. Danny Walsh coordinated the attack from his tactical station. "All ships concentrate fire on their command vessel. Time to send a message back to the Empire." As the first Zephyrian ships exploded under human fire, emergency transmissions began broadcasting across the galaxy. Every alien species with communication equipment heard the same impossible reports. Human colonies were not surrendering. Human ships were not retreating. The species that everyone thought was primitive and helpless was fighting back with technology that matched or exceeded anything the Zephyrian Empire could deploy. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been the greatest actors in cosmic history. Admiral Kevin Brooks stood in the command center of the UHNS Vengeance, humanity's greatest secret. For 20 years, the massive ship had been hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. To any alien scanner, it looked like just another piece of space rock drifting through the solar system. The Vengeance was not built like other human ships. Its hull contained technology from 12 different alien species, all carefully studied and improved by human engineers. The bridge looked like something from a science fiction movie, with holographic displays showing star maps and tactical information that would make Zephyrian admirals weep with envy. "Admiral, all task forces report ready for deployment," announced his aide, Commander Patricia Lewis. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had helped plan this operation for 5 years. "The Zephyrian fleet is scattered across 14 different systems, trying to figure out how our colonies are fighting back." Kevin smiled as he watched the tactical display show red dots, marking enemy positions throughout human space. The Zephyrians had made the classic mistake of dividing their forces to attack multiple targets. They expected quick victories against helpless colonists. Instead, they found themselves fighting desperate battles against enemies who seemed to know their weaknesses. "Signal all fleet commanders," Kevin ordered. "Operation Payback begins now." The asteroid that had been home to the Vengeance for 2 decades split open along hidden seams. Massive doors that looked like natural rock formations revealed the interior of a military shipyard that would have shocked every government in the galaxy. Dozens of human warships began emerging from their hiding places, each one designed to look ordinary while carrying weapons that could challenge any alien vessel. Captain Tony Martinez commanded the UHS Determination, a ship that appeared to be a simple cargo hauler but carried more firepower than most alien destroyers. His crew had been waiting for this moment since they first went into hiding 3 years ago. "All stations, this is the captain," Tony announced over the ship's communication system. "Today we stop pretending to be merchants and start being what we really are. Today the galaxy learns that humans are not prey. The Determination's external hull began to shift and change as hidden armor plating moved into position. Gun ports opened to reveal weapons that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. The ship's engines, which had been designed to look like simple chemical thrusters, revealed their true nature as hybrid systems that could outrun most alien vessels. In the Kepler system, where Zephyrian forces had expected an easy victory, Admiral Zix found himself facing an enemy that made no sense. His biomechanical ships were losing battles against opponents who should not have been able to fight at all. "Report," Zix demanded from his flagship's organic bridge. The living walls pulsed, with bioluminescent displays that showed damage reports from across his fleet. "Admiral, human forces are using weapons and tactics that do not match their technological level," his aide reported. "They are employing Corvin plasma technology, Alterian shield systems, and Vagan sensor networks. It is as if they have been studying our allies for decades." Zix had commanded Zephyrian fleets for 40 years. He had conquered 17 different star systems and never lost a major engagement. But the reports coming from the human colonies made no sense according to everything the Empire knew about human capabilities. "How can a primitive species deploy advanced alien technology?" Zix asked. His question was answered when the UHS Victory dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly behind his flagship. The human ship should not have been able to approach without being detected by Zephyrian sensors. But the Victory was using navigation technology that had been reverse-engineered from captured alien vessels and improved by human scientists. Dr. Amanda Foster worked in the Victory's science laboratory, which looked like a combination of alien research facility and human workshop. She had spent 10 years studying the biological components that made Zephyrian ships function. Now she was ready to use that knowledge against them. "Captain, I am detecting the neural network that controls their flagship," Amanda reported to Captain Danny Walsh, who had been transferred from Lisa Stone's fleet to command this special mission. "If we can disrupt their biomechanical interfaces, their ship will lose coordination between its living and mechanical systems." Danny had grown up believing that aliens were more advanced than humans in every way. Military Academy taught him that human technology was generations behind the great galactic powers. But his years serving on hidden military projects had shown him the truth. Humans were not behind other species. They were just better at learning from everyone around them. "Do it," Danny ordered. Amanda activated a device that combined human medical technology with psychic dampening fields stolen from the Mindari species. The invisible energy beam reached out toward the Zephyrian flagship and began interfering with the neural connections that allowed the ship's living components to communicate with its mechanical systems. Admiral Zix felt his ship shudder as control systems began failing throughout the vessel. The biomechanical interfaces that made Zephyrian technology superior to anything else in the galaxy were shutting down one by one. "Impossible," Zix whispered as his ship's living walls began to dim. "They cannot know how our technology functions." The Victory moved closer to the crippled Zephyrian flagship, while other human ships engaged the rest of the enemy fleet. Danny watched his tactical display show Zephyrian vessels struggling to fight effectively as their own technology turned against them. "All human ships, concentrate on the command vessel," Danny ordered. "Time to capture ourselves a Zephyrian admiral." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for generations. Human ships that looked like converted cargo haulers fought with precision that exceeded the best Zephyrian naval units. They used tactics that combined lessons, learned from studying dozens of alien military doctrines with human creativity that no other species could match. Captain Lisa Stone arrived with reinforcements just as the Zephyrian flagship surrendered. Her patrol fleet had grown into a full battle group as hidden human warships emerged from bases scattered throughout the outer rim. Ships that had been disguised as mining platforms and research stations revealed their true nature as military vessels. "Admiral Zix, this is Captain Stone of the human fleet," Lisa transmitted to the captured Zephyrian commander. You are now a prisoner of war. Your ship and crew will be treated according to galactic conventions. But your technology now belongs to us. Amanda Foster led a team of human scientists aboard the captured flagship to begin studying Zephyrian biomechanical systems. Every piece of alien technology they captured would be analyzed, reverse-engineered, and integrated into human designs. The species that the galaxy considered primitive was actually the greatest collection of students in cosmic history. Captain, we are receiving surrender requests from Zephyrian forces in 6 different systems, reported Ben Carter from his communications station. It seems word is spreading about what happens when they fight human colonies. Danny smiled as he watched more enemy ships request permission to withdraw from battles they could not win. Signal Fleet Command. Tell them we are ready for Phase 2 of the operation. Kevin Brooks received the message aboard the Vengeance as his ship led the main human battle fleet toward the heart of Zephyrian space. The asteroid belt shipyard had released 47 warships that officially did not exist. Each one carried technology that would revolutionize warfare throughout the galaxy. Set course for the Zephyrian home system, Kevin ordered. Time to pay the Empire a visit they will never forget. The war that was supposed to last days and end in human surrender had become something completely different. The Zephyrian Empire was learning that the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy was a species that could learn from everyone around them and turn that knowledge into weapons that exceeded anything their teachers had imagined. Emperor Vaxon stood in his war room surrounded by displays showing the collapse of his mighty empire. Red warning lights flashed across every screen as reports came in from battle zones throughout Zephyrian space. His 4 arms trembled with rage as he watched human forces destroy fleets that had conquered dozens of worlds over the past century. How is this possible? Vaxon demanded of his military commanders. We have the most advanced ships in the galaxy. Our biomechanical technology is centuries ahead of human capabilities. They should be begging for mercy, not winning battles. Fleet Admiral Zix had been brought back to the capital world as a prisoner exchange after his capture at Kepler Colony. The proud military leader now stood before his emperor with his head bowed in shame. His flagship had been returned to him, but only after human scientists had studied every system and copied every piece of technology they found useful. Your Majesty, we have underestimated the humans completely, Zix reported. They have not been primitive traders for the past 30 years. They have been students. Every piece of technology we sold them, every military tactic they observed, every weakness they discovered has been cataloged and turned into weapons against us. The Emperor's mandibles clicked together in fury. Students, you tell me that we are losing to students? The most dangerous students in the galaxy, Zix replied. They learn faster than we can adapt. They take our strengths and turn them into our weaknesses, and they never forget anything we teach them. In the Palace Detention Center, Ambassador Jonathan Blake sat in his cell reading reports that were smuggled to him by sympathetic Zephyrian guards. The alien prison was designed to hold the most dangerous criminals in the Empire, but Blake felt more like a teacher watching his students take their final exam. Grace Murphy had been placed in the cell next to his. The young lieutenant had spent her captivity learning the Zephyrian language from their guards and gathering intelligence about the Empire's military structure. Even as prisoners, humans continued to study and learn from their captors. Ambassador, the reports are incredible, Grace whispered through the cell wall. Human forces have captured or destroyed 60% of the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Brooks is leading the main battle group toward this system. The Empire is asking for peace negotiations. Blake smiled as he thought about Kevin Brooks, the young captain he had recommended for advanced tactical training 15 years ago. Kevin always was good at planning ahead. I suspect he has been waiting for this opportunity for a very long time. The UHNS Vengeance led a fleet of 50 human warships as they emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zephyrian home system. Admiral Brooks stood on his bridge watching tactical displays show the defensive positions that protected the Empire's capital world. Orbital stations, Automated defense platforms and 3 full battle fleets stood between the human forces and their ultimate target. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from Emperor Vaxon," reported Commander Patricia Lewis. "He is requesting immediate peace negotiations to end hostilities." Kevin had been expecting this message. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled through superior technology and the threat of overwhelming force. When that advantage disappeared, they had no other tools for dealing with enemies who could fight back effectively. "Tell the Emperor that we will accept his surrender," Kevin replied. "But first, he has some human diplomats to return to us." Captain Tony Martinez commanded the UHS Determination as it led a strike force toward the heavily defended orbital stations around the Zephyrian capital. His ship had been modified with captured alien technology that made it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. The Determination could approach defensive positions and attack before the defenders knew they were under assault. "All ships, this is Martinez," Tony transmitted to his squadron. "Remember what we learned from the Corvin about coordinated attacks. Hit them hard and fast, then disappear before they can respond." The human strike force moved through the Zephyrian defensive grid like ghosts. Ships that looked like ordinary cargo haulers suddenly revealed weapons that could penetrate the strongest alien armor. Defense stations that had protected the capital, world for centuries, found themselves under attack by enemies they could not track or target effectively. Dr. Amanda Foster worked aboard the UHS Victory as it approached the largest orbital fortress in the system. Her team had spent months studying captured Zephyrian technology and developing countermeasures that could shut down biomechanical systems from a distance. "Captain Walsh, I am reading the neural networks that control their fortress," Amanda reported. "If we can disrupt their biological interfaces, the entire station will lose power." Danny Walsh had grown from a simple patrol ship officer into one of humanity's most effective combat commanders. His ship carried technology from 8 different alien species, all improved by human engineering and combined into weapons that exceeded anything their original creators had imagined. "Do it," Danny ordered. "Time to show them what happens when they teach humans how their technology works." Amanda activated her bio-disruption system and watched as the massive orbital fortress began to shut down. The living components that made Zephyrian technology superior to other alien systems were turning against their mechanical partners. Control systems failed, weapon batteries went offline, and life support began to malfunction throughout the station. The fortress commander transmitted a desperate message to his emperor. "Your Majesty, the humans are using our own technology against us. They understand our biomechanical systems better than we do. How is this possible?" Emperor Vaxon had no answer because the truth was too painful to accept. The Zephyrian Empire had spent centuries believing that their biological technology made them superior to every other species in the galaxy. They had sold samples of that technology to humans, thinking that primitive minds could never understand its complexity. Instead, human scientists had studied every biological interface, analyzed every neural network, and learned to control systems that their creators thought were impossible to hack. The species that seemed too simple to understand advanced technology had become master engineers of alien systems. "Signal all Zephyrian forces," the Emperor finally ordered. "Tell them to stand down and prepare for surrender negotiations." Admiral Brooks received the surrender message as his fleet took control of the orbital defense grid around the Zephyrian capital. Human ships that had been hidden throughout the galaxy for decades were now revealing themselves as the most advanced military force in known space. "Admiral, Emperor Vaxon is requesting permission to come aboard and discuss terms," reported Patricia Lewis. Kevin looked at the tactical display showing Zephyrian ships powering down their weapons and opening their airlocks in surrender. The empire that had ruled through fear and superior technology was admitting defeat to the species they had considered primitive and helpless. "Tell the Emperor that he can come aboard after he releases Ambassador Blake and Lieutenant Murphy," Kevin replied, "and remind him that he is no longer in a position to make demands." The war that was supposed to end in easy Zephyrian victory had become the Empire's greatest defeat. Human forces controlled most of Zephyrian space, and alien technology that had taken centuries to develop was now being improved by human scientists who understood it better than its original creators. The galaxy was learning that the most dangerous mistake any species could make was teaching humans how to fight, and then assuming they would never use that knowledge. The Zephyrian Empire had broken the peace with humanity and discovered that humans were the most dangerous students in cosmic history. The hunters had become the hunted, and the prey had revealed themselves to be predators who had been studying their enemies for 30 years while pretending to be harmless traders and colonists. 6 months after the Zephyrian Empire broke the peace treaty, Ambassador Jonathan Blake stood once again in the crystal halls that had witnessed the start of the war. But everything had changed. The palace that once displayed the power of an empire now served as the headquarters of the new Galactic Peace Council. Alien species from 43 different worlds had come to witness the signing of treaties that would reshape the galaxy. Blake wore his formal diplomatic uniform as he walked through corridors filled with representatives from species that had watched the war with growing amazement. The Corvin delegation whispered among themselves about human tactical abilities. The Alterian ambassadors studied human technology with obvious envy. Even the proud Vegan Empire had sent observers to learn. From the species they had once considered primitive, Emperor Vaxon was no longer an emperor. The former ruler of 12 star systems now sat in a detention facility awaiting trial for war crimes. His empire had been dissolved, and its worlds given independence under the protection of human military forces. The biomechanical ships that had once terrorized the galaxy were being converted into research vessels and medical facilities. Admiral Kevin Brooks addressed the assembled delegates from the main platform where Vaxon's throne had once stood. The crystal seat had been replaced with a simple podium that reflected humanity's practical approach to leadership. Kevin still wore his uniform, but the insignia now showed him as Commander of the Galactic Defense Force, a position created to prevent any single species from dominating others through military might. Representatives of the free worlds, Kevin began. We gather here not to celebrate the victory of one species over another, but to establish principles that will prevent future wars. The lesson of the Zephyrian conflict is simple. Peace exists only when all parties honor their agreements and respect the sovereignty of others. Lieutenant Grace Murphy, now promoted to colonel, sat in the audience watching her former mentor deliver the speech that would establish humanity's role in galactic politics. She had spent the past months working with alien military officers to develop new defense protocols that would protect smaller worlds from aggressive empires. Dr. Helen Carter stood near the back of the assembly hall, wearing civilian clothes instead of her old disguise as a simple farmer. Her gravitational manipulation technology had been shared with friendly alien species and was being used to build defensive systems around vulnerable worlds. The colony administrator, who had pretended to grow crops, was now recognized as one of the galaxy's leading scientists. Captain Lisa Stone commanded the orbital defense station that protected the former Zephyrian capital. Her ships patrolled the system as guardians rather than conquerors, making sure that the transition to democratic government proceeded peacefully. The patrol fleet that had once pretended to be simple cargo haulers now served as the backbone of galactic peacekeeping forces. Dr. Amanda Foster led a research team that included scientists from dozens of different species. The laboratory where she worked was a combination of human creativity and alien knowledge, producing medical breakthroughs and technological advances that benefited everyone. The biomechanical interfaces that had once powered Zephyrian warships were being adapted to treat diseases and disabilities throughout the galaxy. Captain Danny Walsh supervised the conversion of captured Zephyrian vessels into hospital ships and exploration craft. The living technology that had been designed for war was finding new purposes in peaceful applications. Former enemy ships now carried relief supplies to disaster zones and medical teams to worlds that needed help. Tony Martinez had retired from active military service to become a teacher at the new Galactic Military Academy. His classes taught officers from multiple species how to work together to prevent conflicts rather than fight wars. The captain who had led strike forces against Zephyrian strongholds was now training the next generation of peacekeepers. Blake stepped forward to address a question from the Corvin representative. Ambassador Blake, many of us are curious about human military preparation. How long had your species been planning for war with the Zephyrian Empire? Blake smiled as he considered his answer. The truth was both simpler and more complex than most aliens would expect. We were not planning for war with any specific species. We were preparing for the possibility that someone would break the peace. Human history taught us that agreements only last as long as all parties find them beneficial. The Altarian delegate raised one of her 4 hands. But your military technology exceeded anything we thought possible for your species. How did you develop such advanced systems without our knowledge? We did not develop anything, Blake replied. We learned. For 30 years, humans have been the galaxy's best students. Every piece of technology we encountered was studied, understood, and improved. Every military tactic we observed was analyzed and adapted. We became dangerous not because we were advanced, but because we paid attention to everything you taught us. Commander Patricia Lewis stood to address the assembly from her position as Director of Galactic Intelligence. Her organization had been created to share information between species and prevent the kind of misunderstandings that had led to the Zephyrian conflict. The most important lesson from this war is that cooperation produces better results than domination, Patricia said. Human technology alone could never have defeated the Zephyrian Empire, but human technology combined with knowledge from dozens of species created capabilities that exceeded anything any single world could develop. A young Zephyrian stood up from the section reserved for representatives of the former Empire's worlds. What assurance do we have that humanity will not become the next oppressive power in the galaxy? Blake had been expecting this question. It was the same concern that had driven the Zephyrians to break the peace treaty in the first place. Fear that human expansion would threaten alien dominance had led to a war that destroyed the empire that started it. You have the assurance that comes from understanding human nature, Blake replied. We are not conquerors. We are explorers, traders, and learners. Our greatest satisfaction comes not from ruling others, but from building something better together. The Zephyrian Empire fell not because humans wanted to destroy it, but because it chose to break faith with people who had proven themselves trustworthy. Ryan. Bell spoke from his seat among the colonial representatives. The former colony commander now served as governor of New Dakota and spokesman for human settlements throughout the galaxy. Our colonies exist to build new homes, not to project power. We defend ourselves when attacked, but our goal has always been peaceful coexistence. The Assembly voted unanimously to establish the new Galactic Charter that would govern relationships between species. The document included provisions for mutual defense, technology sharing, and peaceful resolution of disputes. Most importantly, it created mechanisms to prevent any single species from accumulating enough power to threaten others. Maya Johnson read the final clause of the charter from her position as Secretary General of the new galactic government. The engineer who had once hidden defensive systems inside colony power plants was now responsible for maintaining peace throughout known space. Let it be recorded that peace in the galaxy depends not on the strength of any single world, but on the willingness of all worlds to honor their commitments to each other. The Zephyrian Empire broke the peace and learned that betrayal carries a price that no military force can avoid paying. As the delegates filed out of the assembly hall, Blake remained behind to look at the empty platform where Emperor Vaxon had once declared war on humanity. The crystal walls still sparkled with alien light, but now they reflected hope instead of tyranny. Grace approached her former commander as he stood alone in the vast chamber. Ambassador, do you think this peace will last longer than the previous one? Blake smiled as he considered the question that would define humanity's future among the stars. Colonel, this peace will last as long as people remember what happens when they break faith with species that have long memories and the patience to prepare for every possibility. The galaxy has learned that the most dangerous enemy is not the one with the biggest fleet, but the one who pays attention when you teach them how to fight. The war was over, but the lesson would echo through the galaxy for generations. Never underestimate those who seem weak. Never break promises to those who keep their word. And never forget that the most dangerous species in the universe might be the one that spends 30 years pretending to be harmless while learning everything you know about making war.